Let's do now the JavaScript task, and let's first summarize what we need to do before starting. So we have this JavaScript folder, and what we want to do is we want to create one single file to compile, just like the SAS file here, like the bundle file. And then if we want to include other JavaScript files, we will import them using JavaScript ES6 import statements. So let's say we have the bundle.js, and we have maybe a folder for components, and we have, let's say, a slider component. What we'd like to do is to import the slider component using import statements like so. Alright. And also be able to use ES6 JavaScript. So we can use the let keyword here and compile just this one file, which will include other files. Alright, so let's do this now. So you can find a lot of Gulp plugins that will transpile ES6 to ES5. However, not all of them can support module bundling. And by module bundling, I mean using the import statements here to bundle all files into just one single file. So one of the famous plugins that support module bundling is called Webpack. And Webpack is actually, it's not a Gulp plugin, it's a separate library, but we will just need to use the module bundling and ES6 compiling part of it. And thankfully somebody made a Gulp integration with Webpack, so it's called Gulp, I think, Webpack Stream. Yeah, Webpack Stream. So let's install it, and always make sure you are in the right directory. So now it's installed, let's see how to use it. So let's go back to the Gulp file now and import Webpack from Webpack Stream, and let's create a new task, and let's call it scripts. What? And we return a stream. So let's type the source and the destination here. So let's put after the scripts, and source, and that will be source and assets and JS and bundle. So as I mentioned, we need to have all the JavaScript bundled in one file. So we'll have one file here, and then the destination would be dist and assets and JS. Right, so that's in the source. We'll have a path dot scripts dot source, and then we'll pipe the Webpack plugin. So Webpack, and then let's save it to our destination, so gulp.dest, and then pass the scripts dot destination. So let's try out this now. So let's run gulp.js and see what will happen. Oh, sorry, gulp scripts, and we have an error. Alright, so looks like we mistyped something in the assets //. Let's run it again. So as you can see, it created something here. So now in your dist directory, you should have a JS folder with a generated file. So as you can see, it adds some stuff here, and then we'll find our file let x equals 0. So that's weird, right? Let is not supported in ES5, so this should be converted to var. So actually what we've done is that we activated module bundling or using the import statement, but we haven't yet used Webpack to transpile our files. And to do that, we'll install another plugin. So NPM install --save, and it's called Babel Loader. And now it's installed. So Webpack works with something called loaders. So we can add in an object to the Webpack argument, first argument, and then a key of module, and then the loaders, and that would be an array of loaders. And loaders are actually what Webpack uses in order to, transform a file or do some sort of a task like the tasks we've been doing using Gulp. So I'm not gonna go into more details in Webpack, it's not important for you, but you can read more about it if you would like. So the first loader, the first item in the loaders array, will test for JavaScript files. So if the file we are passing is a JavaScript file, it will run this loader and then use, and this is the loader that we would like to use. So it's the loader that we've just installed, Babel Loader, which will transpile the files from ES6 to ES5, right? And then we can have options, and we can define our preset. Remember the preset that you should define when you want to use Babel. We use it here in the Babel RC file, presets env. So it's the same thing here, but here we have to define to write the whole npm package name, and and not just env. So if you don't have any Webpack experience before, this may look weird to you, but you can just follow along, and it's not really important for you as a WordPress developer to know what's going on here. But you can read more about it if you would like. So let's try and run this now. Gulp scripts, and we have an error. Oh, okay, that's presets, not preset. I hope that's the error. Okay, so we now have a new bundle. So let's go to the JS folder, and now it's var and not let, because we're now using the Babel loader in order to transpile ES6 into ES5. So you notice here the hash thing that Webpack does every time it creates a new file and with a new hash. This might be useful actually in order to when you change something in your JS files, it will create a new hash, and you can avoid browser caching, and it could be useful, but let's keep it simple for now, and just rename this hash into a constant file name in order to load it easily in the WordPress side. So let's add one more option to the Webpack. So after the module, let's add output, and then file name, and bundle.js. And let's run Gulp script again. And now the file name is bundle.js, as you can see, and here it is. So this way, when we load the file in the WordPress side, the file name will be constant. We know that there is a file called bundle.js and it is directory. But if we use the hash here, we will have to do additional stuff in order to figure out the name and load it. So let's keep it simple for now. So let's now load the bundle.js file in the WordPress site. So I'm gonna go to the enqueue assets, and then we are enqueuing a style here. So there is a similar function for enqueuing scripts, and it's called just as you might expect, WP enqueue scripts or script. So we have the handle. So let's use our prefix as we agreed, and then scripts and the source. So let's use the get template directory URI to get the themes directory, and then our bundle will be in dist assets and JS and bundle. I always messed up bundle.js. And then we have an array of dependencies. So let's leave it as an empty array for now. And in footer, this is a boolean. If you want to add your scripts in the footer, set it to true. If you want to add it in the header, set it to false. So we'd like to add it in the footer so we can avoid the render blocking and make our web page load faster. So we are missing a semicolon here. So that's it. So let's make sure you're having your MEMP servers open, and open your website. And let's add actually something to bundle.js, like a console log or something, so we can make sure it's loaded. So let's console log x and save and run. And let's open our console and refresh, and we're having the console log. So we successfully loaded our file. But now, as you may notice, we have the same CSS problem where it says the console log is coming for bundle.js, and it's actually coming from bundle.js. So let's add another console log in the slider. So any number, and run the task. We're not watching yet for changes, and refresh. So we have this one here. It says it's coming from bundle.js when it's actually coming from slider.js. So we need to add the source maps like we did for the SAS, right? And to do that, we don't have to use the source maps like we did for the styles. Actually, Webpack have an option to add source maps before compiling. So we can add DevTools or DevTool, and this could either be source maps or inline source maps. I'm gonna use inline source maps. The source maps option will add the source maps in separate files. The inline one will add them in the same file. Alright, so let's run the task now and see. So let's open the bundle file, and now we have a source map. So that's what I meant when I said it adds the source map in the same file. Otherwise it will add it in a separate file in the JS folder. And it doesn't really matter, I just like to use the inline one. So let's refresh here, and now we're having the actual slider file, right? So that's great. So one more thing, we would like to add this option only for production, right? So you can do a ternary expression here. So if no production, add the inline source map option, otherwise just set the DevTools to false. So now if we run it, I really hope you're not hearing these cats. So now if we run it, it should be working now, the source maps, but if we run it for production, it shouldn't have source maps, right? One more final thing for this video. I know it's probably too long, but after compiling and bundling the JavaScript, we want to minify it for production also. So I'm gonna use a plugin called Gulp Uglify, and it's a plugin that simply minifies JavaScript. So let's install it and use it real quick. So install, and while it's installing, let's import it. So import Uglify from Gulp Uglify. Alright, and we'll simply, after the webpack pipe, we will pipe the Uglify, and only for production. So if production, Uglify, otherwise don't. So this should work. So I'm gonna run the scripts for production, and we should have our bundle file minified, as you can see.